Hello, good evening, and thanks so much for joining us on News at 10 here at TV3. The bulletin is coming to you from our studios. We're also live on 3FM 92.7. First, let's take you through some major news highlights of the day. Beginning from here, Ghana has several laws that guarantee the safety and rights of persons with disabilities, but are their interests really protected? There's high cases of discrimination against hearing impaired persons despite enactment of Ghana's Disability Act. Some teenage girls are pressured into early marriage in the Kinkandina community in the West Mamprusi district of the Northern region and are currently facing untold hardships. Girls in the district are given out for marriage with just a bag of maize or roofing sheet or the equivalent in money terms paid to their parents as bride price. And on the international front, millions of Zimbabweans poured on the streets of Harare in an anti-Mugabe protest. The protest is in demand for the resignation of the 93-year-old post-independence leader, and we're told it was extended from the grounds to the State House. And those were some major news highlights. Thanks so much for your time with us on News at 10. Let's start with a big one. Beginning from the international front, millions of Zimbabweans poured on the streets of Harare in an anti-Mugabe protest. The protest is in demand for the resignation of Robert Mugabe.
The march came on in the capital Harare and other cities following the army's takeover on Wednesday. The euphoric crowd surged through the center of Harare, chanting "He must go" and waving placards demanding President Mugabe's immediate resignation. Soldiers at State House gently pushed protesters away in scenes resembling a party. Saturday's rally is supported by the army and members of the ruling ZANU-PF party. Outside State House, some people staged a sit-down protest in front of a line of troops. The leader of the organization urged people to head towards Mugabe's private residence too. People sat on their cars, horns blaring, and on top of buses holding Zimbabwean flags. For years, such scenes have been unthinkable in Zimbabwe, but the army and governing ZANU-PF gave these rallies their blessing. Mugabe, 93, has led Zimbabwe since it gained independence from Britain in 1980.
On this issue, go to Zimbabwe and speak to a human rights activist and host of Strategy Room on Zimbo Live TV, Todd Maforimbo, just joining us on Skype. Good evening, sir. Grateful for your time with us. Let's start from here. Perhaps the protest is what will push Mugabe out after the soldiers have failed to get to such an agreement?
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for having me. The protest, obviously, the Zimbabwean people saying they support what the way that is going. Things are going forward in Zimbabwe. Yes, the troops have managed to contain the downward spiral of ZANU-PF, but the Zimbabwean people don't want Mugabe there anymore. And we think that Mugabe is now getting the message that his own people don't want him, and that he will see sense, and that he will sign, the agreement, and he will leave office. We are hoping that this will happen sooner rather than later.
Is there some information that Mugabe's party is in a meeting to discuss what should be done to him? Is that the case?
Yes, that's actually the case, because the ZANU-PF people have come together. The 10 provinces have actually convened, and 8 of the 10 have passed a vote of no confidence in Mugabe. So effectively, they could fire him as the chairman of ZANU-PF, in which case he loses the right to be the president of Zimbabwe. And come Tuesday, when we go to parliament, we can actually impeach Mugabe and get rid of him altogether. His own party does not want him. Not only the Zimbabwean people, but the people that he has put together are tired of him and they don't want him anymore. They have no more confidence in him.
Todd, is Mugabe likely to leave? We've seen the army tried to. We've seen the protest. Is he likely to leave?
We believe that now he's more likely to leave than before because the message is clear. So yes, he is likely to leave. We've had unconfirmed reports from the Secretary General of the War Veterans, I believe, that Mugabe may have agreed to leave this evening, but we're still waiting for confirmation because Zimbabwe, it's awash with rumors. So we only wait for confirmation, but I believe Mugabe is going to go sooner rather than later.
If Mugabe leaves, some have argued that what will be left behind is confusion.
No, there will be. I don't believe there will be confusion left in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has a very, very clear constitution as to the way we progress when a president leaves office. And the army has said their duty is to uphold the constitution, and it's very clear what happens next. The vice president steps into that role for 3 months. They agree with the parliament whether they're going to hold an election or the vice president will serve the remainder of the term. That is very clear in our constitution. We know we're going to have an election next year, hopefully by the month of July. So we are preparing for that. People are registering to vote. And we will stick by the constitution because if we don't abide by the constitution, the army has been very clear that they will intervene to uphold the constitution. So there will be no confusion. There are people who want to self-serve, their greed and their ambition. And those people have to be watched out for and they have to be kept and nipped in the bud. It's all about the country. It's not about personal ambition. It's not about personal gratification.
The constitution is there, but Mugabe is living at a time that can be described as abnormal circumstances, virtually being pushed out. Can the constitution withstand the test and ensure peace after he's left office?
Yes, I have faith in the Zimbabwean constitution. The only problem that we've had is Mugabe has given himself executive powers and he's been surrounded by yes men who have allowed him to amass that level of power. And we have learned as a Zimbabwean people that no person should be bigger than any organization and no person should be above the constitution. So we are going to honor the constitution because that's the law of the land. When Mugabe goes, if he goes, as soon as he goes rather, the first thing we're going to do is honor the constitution and do everything according to the constitution. We all have the capacity as Zimbabwean people to uphold the constitution because we're peace-loving, we're very understanding, and no one wants any disturbances or any violence in Zimbabwe. We will honor the constitution as a Zimbabwean people.
Mugabe's leaving office, is he leaving and is he going to leave with the ZANU-PF party intact, or he will leave that party in disarray?
Well, he is trying to cause disarray. If you know that in ZANU-PF, I don't know if you understand that there are two factions within ZANU-PF, which there's the Generation 40 or the G40 and the Lacoste faction. Mugabe's wife leads the G40, the Generation 40 faction. And those are the people that have been looting and causing disturbances. They've been embezzling funds. They've been oppressing people, taking land illegally. And they own the majority of the land in Zimbabwe. So obviously, because they have amassed that amount of wealth, it becomes very difficult to unseat those people or to even recall them and for the country to get their wealth back. But this, the other faction, the G40 faction, the Lacoste faction, has been very faithful to Mugabe. They've been obedient. They've not gone against him. They've been very loyal to Mugabe. But he has not seen that. He has chosen to believe his wife, who believes that people want to, take power away from him. But when the Generation 40, which some of whom have been arrested, we've got Ignatius Chombo, he's the finance minister. He was arrested and some money was found at his house. Jonathan Moyo was also arrested. And we have Xavier Kasukuwere, who was arrested. Then we have Julius Joao, who's Mugabe's nephew, he's fled the country. These are people who have been stealing from the system, but very close to Mugabe. And these are people that he's going to try to protect before he leaves office. So there may be that struggle for Mugabe to try and protect his people before he leaves. But I think it's a case of trying to close the stable after the horse is bolted. It's too late now. We know the criminals, and we are going after those criminals because the wealth must be returned to the people of Zimbabwe.
Todd, grateful for your time with us. Todd Moforimbo is a Zimbabwean human rights activist and host of Strategy Room on Zimbo Live TV. This is News at 10 on TV3 and on 3FM 92.7. That's it for the big one. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening with the Food and Drugs Authority as they have rounded up some 16 drug vendors in a special operation in Accra. Stay with us. We're back in a moment. Welcome back. The Food and Drugs Authority has rounded up 16 street drug vendors in a special operation in Accra. The multi-agency joint operation targeted unauthorized drug dealers and registered drugs and sale of drugs outside designated sale points.
See this one, like this one, I'd buy 25. If you cocoa, why you go
24-year-old Musa Mamadou claimed he started selling drugs years ago in Ghana because of hardship. He has a variety of drugs, including soda water, which he claimed can cure piles, malaria, waist and body pains, pimples, fever and gonorrhea. Some of Musa's drugs can only be used by ladies.
Well, like me myself, I don't want to sell this one because I don't have money, the way they change it.
Musa gets his stock from Tudu, Accra, but was unable to describe the exact location. 28-year-old Kwesi Boating, who is unemployed, was one of the 2 Ghanaians apprehended during the swoop. According to him, he used to be a beggar until a friend introduced him to the business of selling dewormers. Kwesi lives at La Paz but conducts his business at Medina. These activities, the FDA says, is a concern as they infringe on public health and safety issues. The joint operation with the police, SEPS, BNI and Yoko was to discourage the unauthorized sale of drugs and unregistered products. The operation again targeted the indiscriminate sale of tramadol, which the FDA says has led to gross abuse among the youth.
Which has been established that is being used by our youth, especially students, and it's creating a whole lot of problems. Comes to a halt.
Tramadol is a painkiller, but why is the FDA worried about its usage?
The one that you find on the market currently is around 200 milligram upwards, which has not been approved by the FDA. Secondly, it's been established that it is something that is being abused, and we want to discourage that. That's one of the reasons why this particular swoop was organized, to make sure that we deal with the dealers of these products.
So what next after this exercise?
What we want to do is that, yes, we will continue to embark on such exercise to make sure that we make this business uncomfortable, things that people don't easily go into it. That's what we want to do. But aside that, we want to major on education for the general public to understand and appreciate the reason why they don't have to patronize products from such places.
16 people were rounded up Thursday night, 14 of them foreigners and 2 Ghanaians. All 16 have been handed over to the police for further investigations.
Let's stay on this issue. My guest in the studio is a public health specialist, Benson Owusu. Good evening, sir. Grateful for your time with us. Why is it difficult for us to deal once and for all with this, the issue of drugs on the market, unauthorized ones on the market?
Thank you very much. I believe that the main reason why this continues to be a problem in this nation is probably because our law enforcing agents previously, I will say previously because now there has been a great move to...
They seem to be working harder than
exactly.
Right.
We have not been enforcing the law as in checking the market to see what is actually going on there to really tackle it. Because you pick these commercial vehicles and sometimes you get so surprised. One drug curing gonorrhea,
the tortoise,
candidiasis, headache, hypertension, and you go like, wow. So I would just say probably because the authorities were not enforcing these laws regarding the sale of drugs, because it's illegal to even trade in cars.
So if you say that one medicine is sold and it cures about 5 ailments, does it suggest that they are not approved by the FDA?
Yes, most of them are basically not approved. And people just, you know, for even to check whether a drug is really approved, now the Food and Drugs Board have a site. We go to their site, you put the name of the drug there to check whether it is really authorized or approved to be used. If it doesn't, the name is not there, that means that it's not a good drug or approved to be used. The main problem here is kidney problems continue to be a major challenge that we face at the hospital. Liver problems as well. Now you keep asking yourself that even why are children now even experiencing it? Probably because parents now just buy any drug anywhere where they think might be good for their kids. They start dosing them, and then it can have effect on these organs.
I see, you said enforcement agencies seem to be doing quite well. Now, can we stop the practice from the beginning when the drugs are being manufactured, instead of waiting for them to get onto the vehicles or at corners and get them being sold before? Is it possible?
It is possible, but it might be difficult. The reason being that most of these drugs, some of them, especially with the herbal concoctions, are not really manufactured in authorized place. They don't have a factory. Most of them are just locally
illegal operations.
Exactly. So it will start by educating the public, okay, that look, when the drug is not bought from this point, if it doesn't have the FDA approved stickers on it, don't buy it. If the society gets to really understand this, it is a good step to actually eradicating it from the market.
The key is education.
Educating. If the people, the main, or the, how do I put it, the local people get to really understand this and its health implications, that if the drugs are not really approved, we don't know even the dosage. Sometimes you go, they tell you that take 2 cups in the morning. To me, taking 2 cups of tea is like 2 jacks. So if the education really doesn't go down to the people for a change of mind or behavior to start, it will be very difficult.
Whose job is this? The FDA?
Yes, it is the main duty of the FDA, but all health professionals is our duty.
You have to be involved. But if, for instance, people in the villages, people at certain parts of the country, how easy is it to carry this kind of education?
Well, so what the FDA can do is that they can also have various teams, just like how when it comes to the nurses, we have CHIP compound now, which is really working now. Now, if they have this people at the ground level, where they go about educating the people about health implications of taking drugs that are not being approved. Even those locally manufactured drugs, okay, the herbalists and the rest, they will tell them, okay, if you really want your drug to be used by people, come and register for us. So they may take sample of these drugs, take them to the laboratory to check whether it's good for or wholesome for human consumption. Now, when this is done, what is going to happen is that a lot of people actually believe in herbal medications, which works, but most of them are not FDA approved. So if they are able to get down to the roots and get these manufacturers, train them, take them through personal hygiene, when it comes to even handling of the drugs, we get to know the dosage, which is good for adults, children, and the rest. I believe it's a good way to go.
So the arrest isn't a solution.
Arresting them,
it is part of the solution.
It is part, but it won't take the whole problem from there, because there are many.
Many of them.
There are many. So let's get down to the people, those in the villages. Let's get down to them, because mostly they do the manufacturing.
I'm grateful. Benson Owusu is a public health specialist there talking to me about the FDA's attempt at arresting drug peddlers. In some other news tonight, some 20 million Ghanaians do not have access to basic improved sanitation. It is also estimated that some 5 million Ghanaians also do not have access to toilet facilities, while 15,000 schools in Ghana lack toilet facilities. And only 1 in 5 households in the country has improved toilets. Ghana had been ranked second in Africa after Sudan in open defecation, and also the second in cholera ranking after Nigeria. Over 29,000 Ghanaians were affected with cholera in 2014, with 275 people dying in Accra alone. 20,000 of the cases, which resulted in 121 deaths. This is blamed on the lack of safe drinking water, poor sanitation, and open defecation. Now let's check some statistics on sanitation around the world. The UN has declared November 18 as World Toilet Day, and that is the day we're going to mark, and it is the hopes of reflecting on the global sanitation crisis. So a quick one on your screens there. So around 60% of the population of the world, that's about 4.5 billion, either have no toilet at home or one that doesn't safely manage excreta. Now we're told that 862 million people around the world still engage in open defecation. They're doing it freely without any safety measures. 1.8 billion people use an improved source of drinking water, and there's no protection against getting infected from feces. Those are some of the staggering figures. Now, around the world, 80% of wastewater that is from society gets back into the ecosystem without being treated or reused. So all the wastewater we do, 80% of it gets back to us, and only 39% of the population use a safely managed sanitation service. So excreta safely disposed of in situ or treated off-site. Only 39% of us are able to do that. And finally, if you combine safe water and good hygiene, improved sanitation could prevent around 842,000 deaths every year. That's the figure. This is News at 10. Some teenage girls are pressured into early marriage in the Kankandina community in the West Mamprusi district of the northern region, and are currently facing untold hardship. Eva Atiboka visited the district and reports girls are giving up for marriages with just a bag of maize or roofing sheet that is paid in money terms to their parent as bride price.
Girls in the Kinkandina community are seen as assets. Many of them are married off before they turn 14 years. Gloria was rescued from marriage at age 13.
I was in the house and they told me I was getting married. I was very sad.
13, 14. See yourself in the picture.
By now I would have had me 2 or 3 children.
But would you have survived it?
I would have, by now I wouldn't have been the way I am now. I would have been miserable.
Rather the parents who are forcing the girls to marry. Sometimes that they will give them a bag of maize, or they will go and farm for them. Talking of Gloria case, the man promised the father that he will roof 2 rooms for him. That is where the whole thing started.
At age 18, some already have 3 or more children. It was difficult getting information from the girls as they feared being victimized. Efiatia was married at age 13.
The senior most girl was supporting her to work so they could support the family. They could feed the family. And that's why they didn't go to school. As they were growing, the next step was to get a man go to Kayaye, and then get married.
She's 30 now with 8 children. Although she regrets not going to school, she has no educational plan for her children. She has already married off 2 of them. The 3rd child is the only one in school. Not far from now, she may be giving out for marriage.
She is 13 years old and might drop out of school because she already has a boyfriend and does not sleep at home. We try to discipline her, but she is very notorious. So marriage is the only option.
A fierce husband has shared his responsibilities, further deepening her plight. Feeding the children is a challenge. The mother of 8 is opting for family planning, but it appears she is late. Efia, just like many girls in the West Mamprose district, are pushed into marriage at a tender age but are unable to tell their story due to victimization. With the current situation, family planning and health experts will have a difficulty in controlling birth and population growth in the district.
Eva Tibuke's report ending the show for tonight. Thanks so much if you listen to us on 3FM 92.7. If you watched us on TV3, my name is Bright Manamfo. The show was put together by Selim. Have a good night and stay right here on TV3. Good night. La, 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 la.